Welcome to Tea with Sophie. This is our weekly space for thoughtful women over 50, thoughtful, wise women over 50 who want to age powerfully in mind, body, and spirit through nutrition, lifestyle, and self-trust. It's that time where we want to start trusting ourselves more and should honestly be able to trust ourselves more, not less. So it's wonderful to see you. You are so welcome to join this space with me. And today I am drinking my tea du jour is hibiscus tea. And the reason why I love hibiscus tea is I love the taste. It's a lovely, sweet, fruity, slightly sweet, naturally sweet taste. And it is so heart healthy. And so if you have high blood pressure, you definitely want to be drinking at least 2 to 3 cups of hibiscus tea every single day. Please do not forget. But even if you don't have high blood pressure, we want to keep our blood pressure as low as possible as we age. So last week, we talked about strength, didn't we? So you might have remembered, and remember, this is an ongoing conversation. Every single week, we talked about strength. We talked about building your very important reserve account. We need to build these reserves as we get older. And today, I want to talk about something that I hear almost every single day. And there's this quiet sentence that I hear from so many women as they get older, which is, my body is betraying me. My body is, and even if you don't say it out loud, it's this feeling that you wake up with in the morning. Oh, I've got all these aches and pains and I'm feeling so old. And then you hurt your knee, or you suddenly feel that something isn't quite right. You have significantly lower energy. Maybe you go to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, there's something that we need to look at here or watch. Maybe it is high cholesterol. Maybe it is high triglycerides. Maybe it is some other biomarker that your doctor is a little concerned about. It could be your A1C, showing that possibly you are becoming pre-diabetic. Or even some of you may already sort of be there and have pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes, and the list goes on. But it's this feeling of, I thought there was a time where I really felt in control, with my body, and I don't anymore. And some of you, and you can definitely let me know in the chat, because, we're live here. Some of you might have felt that you're out of control with your body, which is another way of saying my body is betraying me for many, many years. Many women I work with and come to me say, look, Sophie, I haven't been able to get a handle on things for years. I've never been able to be my ideal healthy weight. My body's always fought back. I've never been able to get there. So in midlife, you might have felt all these different things. You're eating and here's what's really confusing. You're eating the way that you used to eat. You're exercising the way kind of that you used to exercise. You haven't done anything dramatically different. And yet your belly is softer, or actually in some ways it feels softer, but visceral fat, belly fat, is actually a kind of harder kind of fat that you can feel almost underneath your breastbone to your hips. It's this expanding midsection, but it is actually sort of harder. It's this stubborn fat. Your sleep is lighter. So you're getting sleep disturbances all through the night, or you're not rarely getting a really deep night's sleep. You wake up at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m. for no reason. And sometimes it's really, really hard to get back to sleep. Or maybe there is a reason. Maybe you're needing to go to the restroom more during the night, and you go, and then it's harder to get back to sleep when you get back into bed. Stress lingers longer. Maybe there's a lot of stress in your life. We're in the sandwich generation, many of us in our 50s and 60s, where there's people that need to get taken care of who are older than us and younger than us and all around us. And the scale behaves differently, although I don't generally go with the scale as being a big measurement factor, because there's much more, you want to focus much more on your body composition than scale. Nonetheless, the scale is not budging. And it also can feel very personal. It can feel like your body in some ways has turned on you. It's no longer cooperating. But I want to offer you a reframe today. So your body actually isn't betraying you. It's communicating with you because you are at a different phase of your life. And it's not necessarily that it's betraying you or breaking down. It just needs a different frame, and you need to treat your body differently. So let's talk about what is actually happening. So what's actually happening, and this is the biology, just for a moment here. So as we move through perimenopause, which can start as early as your late 30s, most women, it'll be somewhere early to mid 40s, you start having a hormonal disturbance and you're not feeling right. And also you can get all sorts of symptoms. I certainly did when I went into peri at about 45, 44, 45. I'm 61 right now. But when you move into this phase, peri, and particularly menopause, estrogen shifts. And estrogen, as you know, often plummets. And this affects absolutely everything in your body. It affects your insulin resistance. You become more insulin resistant. It affects your bone density. So you're not building bone. You haven't got the same bone turnover. It affects your joints and your muscles, more achiness, because we now know that there are estrogen receptors throughout the entirety of your body. Progesterone also shifts, which means that you don't get that nice calming progesterone in the evening. And then the estrogen it's so important to really understand. And hormone replacement therapy or hormone replacement treatment can help with some of these things. It can help. But I always say this, it is absolutely not a magic jelly bean. It just isn't. Not for the things that you really want to see a significant change in. So yes, it can help a little bit with sleep, with hot flashes and things like that. But I always say if you're going to use it safely, go to an OBGYN and make sure that everything is properly FDA approved. But it's an adjunct. It's an adjunct. You definitely want to do the lifestyle because the lifestyle can make such a massive difference to everything, to your sleep, to your hot flashes, to your belly fat, to your aches, to everything. So as I've already said, estrogen affects insulin sensitivity. It affects where you store fat. So when you're younger, you might store fat more subcutaneously underneath the skin, evenly distributed, but it'll tend to be stored more as visceral fat, as belly fat. It affects sleep and mood, as I've already said. And just this little thing about the belly fat. What happens is there's something called a fat threshold. And you reach that fat threshold. And what can happen from, let's just say, 40 to 50, 10 years, there can be a weight creep where your weight just creeps up bit by bit by bit by bit. And suddenly, and you might be on and off diets and protocols and all that kind of thing. But over time, you're on, off. And you always come back to this sort of set point. But after a certain amount of time, and particularly in menopause, your body reaches this fat threshold. And it sounds a little bit odd, but your fat then sort of spills over. So it's no longer contained in the subcutaneous fat, which is under skin fat, which is healthier. And this is often benign fat, which is there's no virtue in being thin. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being healthy and all different shapes and sizes. And a lot of women have more subcutaneous fat, which can be beautiful. But it spills over, and then we get the unhealthy fat. And the unhealthy fat is the visceral fat, and it's unhealthy because it's highly inflammatory. So these adipose tissues and the way that the fat is stored, it releases inflammatory cytokines. And so this is just one of the many different ways that inflammation starts becoming systemic in our body. All of this means that the same thing that you used to eat, same things that you used to eat, same diet, same exercise regimen may not work anymore in the same way. Can you see that? It's just things have changed. And then we're like, well, I'm doing healthy things, but it's not working anymore. Well, it's not working because your body has changed and your body needs it needs to be treated differently. That is physiology. At the same time, muscle becomes even more important. We lose muscle naturally as we age. It's called sarcopenia, much more rapidly after menopause if we're not really actively building it. Muscle is not just cosmetic. I talked a little bit about this last week. It's metabolic tissue, so your metabolism is in there. It stores glucose. It stabilizes blood sugar. It acts as a glucose sink, actually. A lot of women don't realize that. It protects bone and gives you independence. So one of the greatest markers of healthy longevity and aging is having really quite a lot of lean muscle mass. So if muscle declines and insulin sensitivity shifts, the body adapts, and often around the midsection. That's where you're going to see it, in this belly fat that nobody wants. That's so understandable. And this is adaptation. It's not sabotage. It's actually survival biology. And, but what tends to happen is we panic, don't we? And then we reach for straws and we're like, oh my gosh, I've got to do this thing. I've got to go on this diet. I've got to take this supplement. I've got to do this crazy workout in the gym. I've got to do anything to sort of deal with it. We cut calories, we add more carbs, but we actually go backwards. It always backfires. Even if you initially lose on a diet, you're always going to spring back. You're always going to spring back. Psychologically, you're always going to spring back, and physiologically, you're going to spring back if you are on something hard and restrictive. That's just what's going to happen. If it doesn't become a way of life, then your body doesn't read it as a way of life. Your body is going to read it as you're doing something extreme. I'm probably going to hold on to every single thing for dear life. And the minute you come off it, we are going to come out of famine mode, and I'm putting it all back on again. Okay, so it's so clear to understand that. It's also sometimes the problem with some of the GLP-1s, which a lot of women don't stay on them very long because of the side effects. I think it's 50% of women come off them. But also then there's that rebound effect, because when you stop taking them, then obviously the weight's going to come back on, and sometimes even more so. So midlife is not asking you to go backwards. Let's not go backwards. It's not asking you to go, okay, well, all these problems, so what do I do? No, we don't want to go back to who you were when you were 30 or 40 or 50 if you're in your 60s. We don't want to go back. We want to move forward. We want to become. Write that word down, ladies. It's a word I use so often because it's about becoming the most beautiful, powerful, healthy, vital version of you. This is what this stage of our life affords you, this beautiful opportunity. So let's think of the seasons, okay? You wouldn't plant spring flowers in winter soil, would you? You would adjust to the season. And midlife is obviously, it's a season. It's a beautiful season. And it's so often framed as not being. I just really dislike all the sort of talk and the negative talk and limiting talk around menopause and aging. Oh, it sucks. It's so difficult. Oh my gosh, look at, because it just doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. If you could hear some of the women that I work with in my Ignite program, and hear the conversations we have, these women are glowing and growing and nourishing and going from strength to strength. And you would never know. They're fully enjoying this phase of their life to the fullest. So, but this new season, it does require certain changes. Now, it does require more strength training. There's no getting away from that, and lifting heavy. And most women, I would probably say 98% of women don't lift enough, and they don't lift heavy enough. Now, it's got to be safe, but you've got to lift enough, and you've got to lift heavy enough. It requires a little bit more protein. So when you're in your 50s, you're going to need a little bit more. When you're 60, you're going to have to up that a little bit more. And when you're 65, a little bit more. And most of the time, I advocate for plant-based proteins because we know that overall mortality risk is significantly decreased when we switch out plant proteins or for animal proteins. And making the switch, there's so many other, enormous benefits, including cancer prevention, heart disease prevention, and the list goes on and on. So we really want to, I always say age-proofing your body is disease-proofing your body. So we want the protein in our body that is going to disease-proof our body in the long term. And I'm talking about disease-proofing your brain, your breasts, your heart, your bones, disease-proofing, ladies. So we don't need more punishment. We need lots of love and nourishment. Okay, no more punishment, but nourishment, ladies. And that's where so many women get tripped up. So they treat midlife like it's a problem instead of a beautiful natural shift. Trying to stop it or pretend it's not there is like trying to stop rain from falling. Ain't going to happen. It is happening. We are all aging, going into this phase of our life, no matter what. Okay, your body isn't broken. It's just recalibrating, and you can be here to support this beautiful recalibration. I'm just going to take a sip of my tea. Oh my goodness, that is so good. For those of you who missed the beginning, I'm drinking hibiscus tea. It is dreamy. All right, so another layer here that I would just want to layer in in today's episode. Many women in their 50s are holding a lot, and in their 60s and at 70s, holding a lot. It could be aging parents. It could be adult children. You can let me know in the chat if you're watching this live. Careers, finances, responsibilities. And this isn't even everything that's always going on around us in the world, all the difficulty and the misery and the everything that's going on, which some ways, it, feels like it's a lot to hold, to bear on our shoulders. So what happens? Your nervous system is on high alert all the time, okay? And cortisol, your stress hormone. Yeah, adult children can be exactly. Adult children. But your cortisol, the stress hormone, which directly affects your blood sugar and belly fat storage, is on the rise. And the thing about cortisol is it's not that cortisol is bad. It's not bad. You see a lot on the internet, oh, cortisol. No, you need cortisol. You need it. We need good stress. You need this beautiful surge of cortisol. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to get up and do what you need to do in the morning. You wouldn't be able to do your work and your responsibilities and get going. But when it's regulated and it's in tune with your natural circadian rhythms, it's beautiful. It's when it completely goes out of whack, when you start getting cortisol spikes all day long, and particularly into the afternoon and evening, that's when there are problems. Because then it's like drip, 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 blood glucose spike. Okay, that's blood sugar in the system. Got to be stored somewhere. It's going to be stored where you don't want to be stored as belly fat. So this is what's really going on when we have this enormous amount of stress and a dysregulated nervous system. And all of this leads to premature aging in every way, because stress doesn't just affect that cortisol release piece that I've just spoken about. I think probably the most notable thing as a gut health expert is it's fascinating to me how chronic stress affects your microbiome. And again, it's not that stress is bad. There can be good stress. There can be bad stress. There can even be good acute stress. Our system is biologically adapted to be able to deal with acute stress. But what I'm talking about is this day in, day out, feeling like you're completely out of control. Feeling like you're out of control with your life, everything going on around you, and your body. It's that kind of stress, which is quote unquote the bad stress. And that is chip, chip, trip, or drip, 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 drip. And that kind of stress is in many ways diminishing you, if not killing you, one drip at a time. So that's what we really need to learn how to manage. So there's identity as well, your identity narrative. And this is the emotional layer. And when your body changes, you feel like your identity changes, don't you? It's like, I'm just not that, because of course you're not that. And this can be so deep for so many women. So many women I work with, they might lose their hair or get really thinning hair, which is a huge part of their identity. Their body changes. Some women I work with can't bear to look at themselves in the mirror. They literally cannot bear it. They look at themselves in a photograph and they're horrified, and it destroys their day. Or they see the scale, or they suddenly are walking in Target and they see their reflection in a mirror under that awful lighting, and they're like, oh my gosh, who is that woman? And this is identity, because this is like who I am, who I feel about myself. I am is your self-identity. I'm strong, I'm beautiful, I'm whatever. And all those things shift when we get older. It might be something that somebody says to you. So this is so important. This is probably the most important thing. So your clothes fit differently, your face changes. We live in a culture that quietly sidelines aging women. It does. Whatever way you want to say it, it does. Certainly doesn't celebrate age and wisdom, sadly, in bygone eras. So it's not just biology, ladies, it is narrative. Biology says adjust your inputs, and culture goes, you're losing value. You're losing value. Just sit with that for a moment. That's just heartbreaking and sad. We should be gaining value as we get older, not losing it. Okay. And so your worth, just telling you here, it has nothing to do with your aging face, with fat distribution. Your relevance doesn't decline with estrogen. Say that after me. my relevance doesn't decline with estrogen. Your power doesn't evaporate with collagen. Ladies, midlife isn't a decline. It's a beautiful time of depth, is to go deeper. So here's your invitation today. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Try asking, what is my body asking for now? What is my body asking for now? More protein, more resistance training. It could be more sleep, more restorative sleep, more rest, more boundaries, less chaos, more self-honoring instead of self-abandonment, which very often happens at this age. Okay. So listening to your body. Listening is strength. Listening is maturity. Listening is power. You think when you listen to somebody else who's having a really hard time, okay, and you sit and listen to them and validate them. It's one of the greatest gifts that we can give to anybody, and yet we don't often give it to ourselves. Okay. So when you move from panic into curiosity, this is what I want you to take away from this episode. Moving from panic and stress and scarcity and, oh my gosh, it's getting worse and worse and I'm losing value and look at my body. And you might not consciously be thinking this morning, noon and night, but it's probably going on somewhere deep within in the operating system. I'm losing my health, everything's declining. That's going on. So we want to move from panicking just to curiosity. Curiosity is a beautiful thing. Just be curious. That is so interesting. That's what I say to everybody. If there's anybody here in Ignite, you know I talk about that a lot. It's just, that's so interesting because it's beautiful and it's kind, okay? When you move from panic to curiosity, you're going to start dialing down the bad stress, right? You're going to lower inflammation. You're going to regulate your nervous system. Okay, you're going to make better decisions. Curiosity is calm. And calm is what we all need. Calm is actually metabolic medicine. And as I so often say this to my beautiful clients, you know, there are things that we need to do. No question. You need a strategy. You need to do things differently. If you want to be in the best health possible in your 50s, 60s, 70s and beyond, you do. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I'm calling it tight. You do. If you keep on doing what you're doing, then if you're lucky, you're going to maintain the health and body you've got. But more often than not, you're going to decline. So you are going to have to make changes. And sometimes those changes require significant changes. They just do. Again, I'm calling it tight. You want significant outcomes and you want to feel a million miles better, want to wake up in the morning without the inflammation, the aches and the pains and this and that. You want your energy back and you want to feel young and vital again. Well, then you got to do the work and you need strategy to do that. But forcing yourself to make those changes, and as far as I'm concerned, those changes are holistic. So being a holistic nutritionist, what I teach my clients is it is nutrition, it is exercise, it is sleep circadian rhythms, it is completely differently dealing with your emotions and knowing and learning how to regulate your nervous system and having a community to help you. So it's all of those aspects of lifestyle, but it's not going to happen from pushing from a place of scarcity. You know what it's like when you're in panic mode, there's nothing left in the tank, you're burned out, you're empty, and you're trying to make a decision and you're trying to make a change, you know, and it's just like sort of whipping yourself to go, you can do that to a child, right? You would just go, let's just calm it all down. Let's just take a breath. Let's regulate you. Let's get you back to balance. Let's get you fully resourced. And then we're going to look at what needs to change. Then we're going to make the changes. So I really hope that makes sense. Let me know in the chat if that makes sense. And that's the right way round of doing things, right? The wrong way round, and unfortunately, it's a sort of sign of our time. It's our culture that we live in now. Everything is so quick, and it's quick fixes, it's information. And now with AI. But what AI and all this onslaught of information can't do, it cannot do, is deeply support you and regulate you and your nervous system and get you from being here in panic mode if you're watching me to just being resourced. And then you make the changes, and making them from this place, that is when the changes build beautifully, integrate beautifully, and stick because they feel good, because they're not coming from scarcity or forcing. So ladies, closing today, midlife is not betrayal, it's invitation. It's an invitation to mature your strategy, to build strength differently, non-negotiable, to rest differently, to nourish effectively and differently. The nourishing the food is very important. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong. You're just in a different season of your life. You're evolving. And evolution always requires a little bit of adjustment. So this week, if something feels a little bit different, don't attack it. Sit with it. Come to it with curiosity. Ask what it needs. Meet it with respect. And that's it. Now, I will say a little call out for something that I created for you that I am so proud of, because I put this together in a way that I think makes so much sense. Is I created another masterclass. It's a free masterclass. And I'm just going to see actually if I can pop it in the chat here. Yes, I did. There we are. I put it in the chat. There we go. And so you can just click on that link before you leave and watch it. And what this masterclass is, it's 5 steps to break through your confidence crisis. And the reason I created this is so many women that I have spoken to over the last few weeks and months. And I sent an email and a poll out to hundreds of women. And I said, what's the thing that's really, what are you struggling with most? And most women said, oh, you don't see the link. Let me just see. Most women said the link, if you're watching this, by the way, you're watching the replay, the link is in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube, the link is in the description. And we will send you, we'll be sending you an email out. If you're on my email list, we'll be sending you an email out on Wednesday, this Wednesday, with the replay of this, and the link will be in there. Okay, so don't worry if you couldn't pick it up in the chat. It will all be, keep your eagle eye on your inbox, because I like to send these replays out so you can keep them, and it'll be in there. But the thing that I really found with so many women was it was just my confidence. It's like, Sophie, my confidence is really, is just going downhill. And it really breaks my heart because when I really heard that, it was like, this is, we just, as a culture, we shouldn't be getting more and more unconfident, our confidence draining as we get older. And particularly because we're required to do so much now as we get older, that we have a lot more responsibilities. Adult children, as some of you said, aging parents, some of us are in high responsibility jobs. So it's a lot. So we need our confidence. Ladies, on my watch, we're getting that confidence back. All right. We're getting that confidence back. But it does require some deeper inner work. And that's why I created this masterclass with 5 very significant steps. And they're deep steps that you can take. And so have a look at that. It's about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It's well worth your time watching or listening. All right. So this is Tea with Sophie, and I will see you next week for another conversation. Bye-bye.